Welcome to the online training module on building cultural humility in partnership with parents and families. This training is a collaborative effort between the Center for Early Education and Development at the College of Education and Human Development at the University of Minnesota and the Center for Advanced Studies in Child Welfare at the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota. This learning module is part of an online training effort that covers a wide range of topic areas in child welfare. In this module, I'm going to talk about building cultural humility, including the current research findings in this area. Before we get started, please make sure you have a notebook or paper and something to write with, or a document open on your device so that you can type or talk to text. This module includes a handful of reflective exercises as a way to deepen understanding of your personal and professional position in work with children and families. Welcome to the online training series. My name is Amanda Moses, and I am an MSW and MPH candidate in the School of Public Health and the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota. And I am a graduate research assistant to Dr. Alyssa Mewison at the Center for Early Education and Development. So to provide an overview, there are two parts of this module. The first half of the module, we will touch on the following topics. We will talk about culture, cultural differences and child welfare work, and implicit bias. In the second half, we'll focus on relationship building, power dynamics, we'll do a case exercise, talk about implications for practice, and then offer some resources in closing. So to begin, how do we define culture? At this moment, you can pause the module and take maybe 2 to 3 minutes to jot down some thoughts of how you define culture. So let's move into some definitions. And maybe your definition of culture looks a little bit like these points, but maybe it doesn't, and that's okay. So what is culture? The way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, art, norms of behavior such as law and morality, and systems of belief. And that's from Boston University School of Public Health. Culture is not just about race and ethnicity. There's a lot more that encompasses culture. So what does it mean to have cultural humility versus cultural competence? To have cultural humility is to have a commitment to learning and to understanding and meeting people where they are. And as child welfare professionals, we can't guarantee a safe space, but we can offer a safer space. So it's not possible for us to be entirely culturally competent if we're not part of the culture. But what we can do is have cultural humility, which means we're not making assumptions or believing that we know everything about someone's culture. We're open to learning and we remain students of these different cultures. So cultural differences and kind of how they work with child welfare. And why does it matter to child welfare workers? So here are just some examples of cultural differences and how they impact child welfare work. Black families are separated at higher rates than other races. People of a lower socioeconomic status are more likely to face parent and child separation. And if a family doesn't fit culturally into society's expectations, there are assumptions sometimes made that something must be wrong because they don't fit into the box that we might have for what a family should look like or what caretaking should look like. And to build on that, historical and sustained systems of repression have brought us here today, but we can unlearn and repair these injustices, namely to disabled, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and other populations who have been disproportionately impacted by child welfare proceedings. It's challenging to undo these injustices because of the pervasive nature of what's called implicit bias. So what is implicit bias? To start, let's talk about what bias is. Bias consists of attitudes, behaviors, and actions that are prejudiced in favor of or against one person or group compared to another. So what's implicit bias? Implicit bias is a form of bias that occurs automatically and unintentionally, that nevertheless affects judgments, decisions, and behaviors. Research has shown implicit bias can pose a barrier to recruiting and retaining a diverse scientific workforce. That's from the US Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health.
So now that we've defined implicit bias, let's see what it looks like in practice. So we'll view a video from Dr. Jessica Price. She's a director at the Florida Institute for Child Welfare, and she's working on implementing strategies for programs around the country to explore the recommendations colleagues can make when certain parts of a family's identity are left out of a case. So head to ted.com/talk and search to transform child welfare, take race out of the equation. And once you're finished, you can come back to the module, press play, and we will continue.
So now that you've completed the video, take some time to reflect on what you heard and saw and answer these questions. The first being, what do you think about child welfare agencies using blind removal practices broadly? Question 2, what's the difference between this blind removal concept and saying something like, quote, I don't see color, or the concept of color blindness? The third question or prompt is to take 5 minutes to think about or write about a time when someone made an assumption about you in a personal or professional setting, and then answer these questions. How did it make you feel? And what if that assumption was made about you continuously by many people over time? So I advise you to pause here and take, I would say, at least about 7 to 9 minutes to answer these questions. This will wrap up the end of the first part of this video, and we will move into part 2, where we will discuss relationship building, power dynamics, a case exercise, implications for practice, and talk about some resources as well.